BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to the in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA and college basketball, NHL to the UFC. Head to BetOnline today, and don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Happy New Year to all. We hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a splendid holiday season. Justin Goodhart alongside Cameron Klein as the Fly Guys podcast enters wow, this is going to be, technically, by the end of the year, it'll be 6 years with Cameron on the other side of the microphone. And we've done a lot of seasons together, Cameron. You know, I was thinking about it when I was going home on the train from after going home to the Eagles game. As I sat on the train, I was thinking about our next show. And I was like, you know, we started in 2019, 2020. And I'm like, 2020, 21. 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. And I'm like, man, we've been doing this for this is our 5th season covering the team. And man, does that team know how to make us so effing miserable. It's not even funny.
I was just going to say, dude, 5 years, and yet somehow they all feel the same.
The last 4, like 2019, 2020 was
the one stuck out. Yeah, the one stuck out. The first one we covered. Stuck out, and then since then it's kind of been the same. Some minor ups, some heavy downs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seems like we're kind of back in the middle of that, which is we said before we were concerned a couple of months back. I'm full blown worried at this point. I'll say.
How could you? All right. There's no way you're sitting here and thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm comfortable with where the team's at right now. Like, there's no way anyone's sitting here doing that. Yeah. You've got Matvei Michkov, who has hit the proverbial rookie wall, and he's obviously – which is going to
happen. It was going to happen, yeah. But, yeah.
You've got the worst goaltending situation, I think, can be argued in Flyers history. Friend of the show, Eric Reese, we had a little back and forth about it on Blue Sky, and he goes, you know, I think 2018, 2019 might have been worse because the Flyers had 8 different goalies that year. Yeah. And I said to Eric, I was like, you know, you might be right. Hey, listen, it was bad, and there's no putting any lipstick on that pig to make it sound better. And I'm not going to try to tell you that 2018, 2019 was a walk in the park for this franchise. But what I will say to you is they at least had 2 goalies that finished with a save percentage above 90% and a goals against average below 3. So that should count for something. And I don't think there's a shot any of these goalies are going to touch those numbers.
Given how things are going. Who were the 2? Elliott, I'm guessing, was one.
Yep.
Was it Neuwirth with the other one?
No.
I can't remember. Was it Cam?
It was not Cam Talbot, no.
Fuck, dude. I don't know. Because there's 8 of them, so
it's the man that really let us down. Like, big time.
Alex Lyon?
You know, he did let us down. But no. Who let us down for like dumb, stupid, doing stupid things reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Carter Hart, yes.
Yeah. So, he will not be named. Right. Yeah. I got you. Okay. Yeah.
You know, by the way, just going to point it out, Anthony Stolarz, pretty good goalie in the NHL now. Called it. Just saying. I called it.
You did? He did. Everybody needs to listen to that. Stolarz the goalie.
I was on that freaking train going back to 2018. I was like, give this kid some time. And then he had the knee issues. I'm like, he's a 6'6" goalie. We can make this work with this guy. And now he's an extremely productive backup goalie and probably is a borderline starter on most NHL franchises. You know where he's a starter? He's a starter in Philadelphia.
He would be a starter in Philadelphia. Yes. Yes.
But continuing on, because it's not just goaltending. Cameron, we talk about it every week. It's the same mistakes. I'm seeing the same mistakes. I'm seeing that they can't get out of the zone. Defensive zone turnovers. Horrendous transitional play in the neutral zone. Can't clear the crease and just leaving your goalies out to die. Your goalies already suck as it is. You're going to just leave them out to die as well.
Yeah.
And the offense, oh, boy, that power play. Oh, it's something special, isn't it? The penalty kill, which was a strength last year, is atrocious now. No power kill anymore. It's just, it's just kill. because we just get killed out there on the penalty kill. And like Travis Konechny is like the shining light in this entire. Like, he's got 20 goals. I don't think that's not unnotable. He's got 46 points in 42 games. Matvei Michkov is still second on the team in points, which is a problem because he has not put up. He's put up like what, 1 point in the last 10 games.
I believe it was like 1 in the last 12. I think it was what they said last night.
Owen Tippett, meddling. Scott Lawton. He's Scott Lawton, like he's
right. That's the best way you could put that. That's the best way you could put that.
Travis Manheim is like fine.
Yeah, he's a defenseman playing well.
Sean Couturier is like, I honestly put Sean Couturier and Scott Lawton at this point in the same category of just like, what do you expect? What do you think you're going to get at this point?
I would say like Sean Couturier, he drives play more often, which doesn't always translate to points. So like I give him an edge there, but yeah,
Now,
go on, just go on, just keep going.
Morgan Frost, whatever. We already know. We don't need to say anything more. We've said everything.
Yeah, we
However, guess what? Noah Cates, Bobby Brink, Tyson Forrester, they've been playing well over the last couple weeks.
The one again, and they've been consistent. They've been consistently good for the past like 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the deal, man? And that's what brings me to where I went from concerned to worried, is that it's a regression, and any regression this early into a rebuild is not a good thing.
Nope.
And what bothers me is that the things that are regressing are things that are just so uncharacteristically a John Tortorella team. It's the lack of discipline. It's turnovers in the defensive zone. It's everything you just listed. That's why I'm concerned. Because John Tortorella is a centerpiece of this rebuild. We've talked about how there's the idea of him transitioning to management. There's the idea that he's kind of going to be this arbiter of the Flyers, of who's going to be your championship guys and who isn't. And if the team's already losing faith in that this early on, and again, he's kind of the focal point of the rebuild, it all comes crashing down. And I'm not saying it's going to happen because we're still early on in this. We're halfway through the season. We still got time left. There's still February. Last year they had that miraculous February, which launched them into the position where they were in. But I don't want to rely on that. I don't want that to be the consistent thing moving forward. And I don't think John Tortorella or the Flyers do too. So that's why I'm worried. We talk about Bobby Brink, Tyson Forrester, Noah Cates. They're all consistently playing well, but the rest of them isn't. That scares me. Like, why is the communication not reaching everybody at the same level? Because if it's not reaching everybody, it's not reaching Matt B. Michkov. It's not reaching Jamie Drysdale. It's not reaching Cam York. It's not reaching the younger guys who are going to be the future of the team. And if the message is not getting to them, the rebuild doesn't work. That's what scares me.
No comment needed. It's like there's no other point I could make.
Thank you.
I don't like what's. We're at that point of the season, Cameron, where I have an episode where I'm like, what's the point of talking about the games? Like,
right.
Like, okay, they play the Dallas Stars, and you go and like they're gonna lose. Like, obviously they're gonna lose. No one's sitting there going, yeah, they'll beat the Stars. But
I hate to say, that's how I felt. That's how I felt going into it, and the game went exactly. And then before you know it, it's 2-0, and I thought it was like, there it is. That's it. It's done.
I mean, you talk about looking lifeless. You talk about looking just like you don't even belong on the same rink as a team like the Dallas Stars. A team last year they beat. Last year they were able to, they smoked them in Philadelphia. This year they get smoked in Philadelphia. Joel Farabee, not good. Ryan Poehling, not good. Garnet Hathaway, not the same player he was last year. I think he's regressed a little bit this year. Cam York, not great. Yegor Zamula, awful. Jamie Drysdale, not good. Like
Drysdale scares me. He's the one that, again, when you talk about the rebuild, he's a big part of it, and like you said, it's the same mistakes, man.
So wouldn't
last night was multiple times. I need you to cover the passing lane, dude. I need you not to abandon your job and chase the puck. Sorry, go on.
So what if Cameron? What if there might be like some light at the end of this really bad tunnel, for the Flyers? Like they you know what? Like they're in desperate need of some high-end talent that they can use to go forward, right? What if there was a player out there that might be available, may not be. It's all rumors right now.
Okay.
What if I told you of a player that if he got on the Flyers immediately would be second on the team in points per game, just behind Travis Konechny? Would you say that would be a player that would interest you, and the player is very young and under controlled contract?
Well, obviously, yes, right? Because I think if you add a certain spark, sometimes that can turn everything around, right? If one guy jumps into John Tortorella's coaching scheme, loves it, excels with it, and all the other guys buy into it because that other person jumps in, that'd be great. Again, what concerns me is like, again, if it's already bottoming out, which I'm not saying it is, I'm just worried that it is. But if it's already bottoming out, I don't think adding one guy is going to change a whole lot about that. But it couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt at this point with the offensive production on this team, which has been one of the major problems. It could not hurt. So I'm all in for that, depending on what the price is. But I'm not married to anybody.
Could it change the direction of a rebuild, though? If you have that, we talk about how we need playmakers, and that guy's name is Elias Pettersson, and he is available. Well, he's reportedly available via all these trade rumors that are going around. He's apparently got a bit of a frosty relationship right now with JT Miller, and maybe just not the best relationship with the team right now. So,
do you know why that is? I haven't read any of it. I know he was rumored to be moving, but
I have not looked fully into what the rumor is.
Yeah, you don't have to. I was just curious.
But what I will say is this: if that's a thing, and it's not fake, because we all know according to Cutter Gauthier, the media gets a lot of things wrong and lies about a lot of things. So if that is true, and there's a bit of a thing going on, and that guy could be had I think you got to do it. I'm usually not the type to be like sell pieces and go get a guy like that. I'm usually like I'm so conservative when it comes to trades. I never am a big fan. Baseball, I never want to give up big time prospects. Football, I'm never willing to give away high end draft picks. Like to me, it's bad business. But what I will say is the Flyers have stood pat for years when guys have been made available, when guys have been on the market. Years ago, I broke my conservative, views on it because I wanted them to find a way to go get Matthew Tkachuk. They didn't. And then Tkachuk obviously turns into what he turns into. I wanted them to maybe go after Tomas Hertl during the 2019-2020 season.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And, ultimately, did that hurt him? Did that help him? It doesn't really matter. They didn't win the Cup that year, so who cares? In my opinion, with the lacking of the pieces that are around this team right now, I have no problem trading 4 guys and a few draft picks if it brings home a guy like Elias Pettersson, who I think is a top flight forward in the NHL, and by his mere presence changes the look of your franchise and immediately becomes someone that you're like, well, let's get him on the line with Michkov. Let's get Michkov finally a guy that can not only score, but can also be a big-time playmaker, makes really good passes, and can set up more scoring opportunities for Michkov if he's the one that's called upon to shoot the puck. Yeah. Owen Tippett missing that empty netter the other night when Michkov set him up with a beautiful pass against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I didn't see the rainbow or at the latest, the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if Owen Tippett's ever gonna, be a guy that doesn't miss the net 15 times a game, and he'll get 20 goals on 450,000 shots in a season. So, like, something's got to change because this roster, as constructed, this isn't an improving roster.
Yeah,
who's better this season?
Yeah,
Forrester's about the same player, which is not a bad thing, but I mean, Forrester's not like a star,
right? And I feel the same way about Bobby Brink,
where
it's like Bobby Brink, he's going to score, he's going to contribute to your team, he's going to be a good player, but he's just not, like you said. I don't expect him to become this point per game star player. I don't think that's going to happen, which is okay. It's fine, but we need that for, like you're saying, Matthew Michkov. hopefully Jet Luchenko, but like that's a while away. Like,
Yep.
no, I say go for him too. And just to pull it up, because I was curious, like, okay, let's look at other trade comparisons, right? For just to kind of put it out there. And this is from the CanucksArmy.com. So it's some Vancouver blog or whatever, but it's a guy named Corey McHugh. I'm probably saying that wrong because I imagine it's French Canadian, but he points out a couple different trades in the past that are comparable. Ironically, 3 of them are Philadelphia Flyer trades, LMAO. But for us getting rid of 26-year-old wingers and players and stuff like that. But just for a comparison, so one was Jeff Carter for Jake Voracek, a first-round pick and a third-round pick, right? So you have to look about like who would be, and let's go down a little bit more. There's then Mike Richards and Rod Bortson for Wayne Simmons, Braden Shen, and a second-round pick, right? So let's say we're going at least one star player, a first, and another high draft pick for Elias Peterson. But it can't just be, we can't just throw Bobby Brink in there. No offense to Bobby Brink. I'm blanking on a name.
We can't throw Scott Lawton in there as much
can't
as
throw Scott Lawton in there. You can't throw Morgan Frost in there. Like, that's not going to work. They're going to want, I don't even know what you would give them. Because to me, Travis Konechny is the only guy who's like really, really, really even close to that level. And I'm not getting rid of Travis Konechny at this point. No offense.
There's 2 untouchables, Konechny and Michkov. But then the problem is, after that, there is a significant drop-off in talent. And now you're talking about, like, all right.
So do you compensate? Do you, just let me throw this at you, do you say instead of superstar player, we go 2 firsts and I don't know, a lower level player, maybe a role player like Scott Lawton, or maybe if you want to go with the angle of, well, you have a project in a former first round pick in Morgan Frost, you could maybe try to swing it that way. You can try to make it try to increase the potential value more than the actual on surface value.
I think if you offered the Vancouver Canucks 2 first round picks, they would have to think about it. But here's the problem with that: rebuilding teams that trade away high round draft picks
never works out.
Tend to stay rebuilding.
Yeah, so it's an Anaheim Duck move. It's an Anaheim Duck move.
Yeah. So that's not a great idea either, right? We can agree. That's probably not the best idea either.
I love it. Yeah.
So you have a star player that might be available, but you don't have the assets to really get them without giving up something, probably overpaying. You probably would have to overpay to make it happen.
Yeah.
So what do you do, right? What do you do? You can swing for the fences and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
You can do nothing and continue on your track, which is going to be a lost season, but, probably a damn good draft pick at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or you can say, well, we're not going to stand pat and do nothing. We're going to sell. We're going to sell our pieces, and we're just going to try and get back more draft capital. We're going to try and get back, some younger guys that might have, upper, potential, right? So of those 3 options, Cameron, star player, do nothing, just sell, and try and attain more assets. What do you think you would do if you were Danny Briere and Keith Jones?
This is not my opinion. If I was them, given the trajectory and their track record right now, I would say they're probably, if anything, going to try to get more assets. I don't think they're going for the star player, and I don't know if they're going to sit there and not do anything. But they have said before plenty of times, they've tried to kind of sober the fan base up a little bit, where they're saying, hey, we're still in this rebuild. Hey, we still have a long way to go. Hey, we still don't see ourselves winning anytime in the near future. Like that kind of stuff. So I think with all of that, I think they're either going to stay pat, or they're going to, most likely, I'd put more of my chips on the idea that they're still going to try to collect assets. Maybe for guys like Ristolainen, right? I think like it could get to the point where season's getting to the point where we're getting closer to the trade deadline. Looks like it's a lost season. Okay, well, Ristolainen has been playing well. Scott Lawton's been playing well. You might start to see those guys moved.
You know what's going to be really frustrating? There's a guy on the one guy on this team I really don't want them to trade, because I think he's going to be a good player, and I think he could be on a team that competes down the line. But I think you could get something back for him, is Noah Cates. I think you could get something back for Noah Cates.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of oh my goodness, what is his name? He went to the Dallas Stars. Totally blanking.
Did we trade him?
Got him from the Dallas Stars. No, we just didn't re-sign him. He was a third round player. He was in that 2019, 2020 season. Oh,
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
it's
Tyler
killing me.
Pitlick. Tyler
Yes.
Pitlick. Yes.
Yes.
Pitlick.
Yes. I knew it was like a normal name. Like it wasn't like, Swedish or Canadian or whatever. So I knew
Yeah.
like that's why it was killing me.
For
But no,
those
like that's I kind of feel Noah Cates, Tyler Pitlick, same kind of feel a little bit.
for those who haven't listened, or if you've been listening to the show long enough, maybe you remember. The show was big fans of Tyler Pitlick at one
Oh
point.
my God.
We were pretty fanboying over Tyler
Dude,
Pitlick.
how could you not be? The guy worked his ass off. Like the guy, he never gave up on a play. I loved the guy. I still do. Say what you will, he would still not quit. If you were watching him play the Dallas Stars last night, he still would not quit. This guy, I loved him. But
no, I love that you thought of Tyler Pitlick. That's really funny. It's Noah Cates is not a guy. No one's going to confuse him as someone who they think has like top 2 forward potential or anything like that.
right,
But what teams look for when they think they might win a championship is they look for depth pieces. And Noah Cates fits the bill as one of those depth pieces, a guy you can stash on the third and fourth line and can become a really good productive player for you. What kind of value are you going to get back for Joel Farabee? Not much. What kind of value are you going to get back for Ryan Poehling or Garnet Hathaway or Cam York or Yegor Zamula? Probably not a whole lot.
right.
But a guy like Noah Cates can probably net you back like a mid-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably not going to trade Forrester. I don't see it happening. If they do, that would surprise me. But you know what? I'd love to see what kind of return they could get for Tyson Forrester. Are they going to trade Morgan Frost eventually? That's like the other guy. It's like Flyers fans. They pull out like all reliable is here Scott Lawton, Morgan Frost, and Bobby Brink for your best player.
Yeah.
But at
yeah.
this point, Cameron, outside of Konechny and Michkov, I really don't care what they do. They got it, but they got to sell. I don't care who's on this team next year. I tried to convince myself that I could get emotionally attached to all these guys because I think that they're playoff worthy, and I really did think they were a playoff team this year. Maybe they still will be, but as I sit here in the new year and they haven't even won a game yet in 2025, I've decided I do not care who is on this team next year because no matter who is on this team next year, the guys that are currently on this team weren't going to win damn squat in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you and I are both in full agreement of that. Yeah, I mean, and they gave us, this feeling, this false feeling that things were going to change, and they still could. Again, like you said, like they're still halfway the season. They could still swing into a wild card round in the playoffs, that kind of stuff. But yeah, at this point, I'm certainly not buying at the deadline, which we didn't think they were going to. But yeah, if anything, it just leans more and more to it's going to be another year of selling. Which, listen, if we're in a rebuild, we're in a rebuild, and we are. We got to accept that. We have accepted that. It's one of those things that this is just part of it, and it's moments like this where you get ahead of yourself. Teams get ahead of themselves. They make trades for players they're not supposed to. They do it too early, and then you find yourself regress 10 more years. If the season is going to continue the way it's going to continue, I'm all in on selling at the deadline again. It's the only move that makes sense.
I just don't care who they could get. Someone put out there, I forget the article or who it was that said it. It's going to drive me crazy. Someone mentioned the Flyers as a potential landing spot for John Gibson if, the Ducks were looking to get rid of him. And, the Ducks aren't good or anything right now. And John Gibson, obviously, very good goalie throughout his career. And I decided, I was like, well, how old is John Gibson? And then I saw, he's only 31, which isn't crazy old for a goalie. He's been in the league for 12 years, so that's been a long time. And I was like, well, what are his numbers? Because if John Gibson's available for trade, he's probably having a bad season. This season, he is 7-5-2 with a .914 save percentage and a .269 goals against average.
He's not the problem in Anaheim. Never has been.
No. Well, that's unfortunate because John Gibson deserved to have a chance. Those mid-2010s Ducks teams probably should have made at least one cup, and they didn't because they had to run in to the Kings and to the Sharks and to the Blackhawks. But so John Gibson theoretically on some sort of trade market, a tanking team trading to another tanking team not sure if it makes any logistical sense. Like, why would we trade? John Gibson's not young enough where you're like, oh, we're going to develop around this young goalie and he's going to be here for the future. John Gibson would be here as a stopgap guy to make the situation in Philadelphia less awful than it actually is. John Tortorella said that Sam Ersan will play tomorrow against the Anaheim Ducks. More on that in a minute. And I heard that and I was like, that's like a threat. I feel like that's more of a threat than like actual information. And Sam Ersan's the best goalie on the team.
Yeah, right.
Best goalie. And I was just like, that's horrible. How could you start him? So, like, any trade to make this team better is how teams stay bad for a long time because they're trying to fill in the holes now. Do you remember the two guys the Flyers traded for in 2019, 2020? I sure as hell remember one of the guys' names because he's our favorite player of all time. Good old Nate Thompson, man. Yeah. Who'd you say he was? He was the new Tanner Pearson or something like that.
I forget what I said it was.
It was whoever that guy was.
It was a good comparison. I can't remember, but
was it Tanner Glass in like Vancouver?
I think so. Yeah, because Tanner Glass was also in New York with. I don't know if he was there with. He was there with AV as well. Yeah.
Was he there with Vigneault? That's funny.
Yeah. And the other guy, he was obsessed with having them play 14 minutes a night on a playoff game. What are we doing, dude?
Okay. Yeah, but the other guy that they traded for was Derek Grant, and Derek Grant amounted to approximately nothing.
Do you remember? But do you remember that skate pass he had that one game?
I vaguely remember the skate pass because I remember you sending me a text or something being like, "Yeah, I do remember it now." Because you texted me like right after that skate pass happened.
Because dude, he didn't notice it. Stepped on it and like whipped it back. I was like, "Dude, Claude Giroux 2.0. What?"
I didn't notice it in the moment, and I had to go back and find what you were talking about. I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty cool. But, like, you see, like, that 2019-2020 team, it brings in, like, two players that's like, oh, we got better. But did we? And then they amount to nothing. The team doesn't get better, and all you have to see is, oh, we gave up, like, a fourth-round pick here and there. It's just – it was not a player worth trading for at this particular point in time. I still will tell you, as conservative as I am, Elias Pettersson's like the one guy I would probably buck that trend on. But then I look at the team and I'm like, well, who are we trading?
Yeah.
So there's really nothing that is going to change at this point outside of like who they're going to sell and is the team going to be able to? Are they going to get on a hot streak? They'll have like a 3-game win streak, I'm sure, at some point in this season. Yeah. Maybe that'll start tomorrow, and maybe they'll, make Cutter really regret, asking out of Philadelphia. And we will be talking about Cutter Gauthier and the things he had to say ahead of tomorrow's game against Flyers. Because, listen, this is all we have, people.
I will say this before we go to break. I will say, like, with all the trade speculation we just mentioned, if it was a 26-year-old all-star goaltender, I'm much more willing to make that trade.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm willing to say Travis Konecny, see you. I don't want to, but willing to.
A star goalie in their young 20s, a top 4 right-handed defenseman.
Right.
Like it's like it's the unicorn, right? Like,
the things that the entire league is looking for. Yeah. If we could find that, that'd be great. Yeah.
Like the Maple Leafs have been looking for a right shot defenseman for like 15 years now, and they
as long as we've been watching. Yeah. No. It's never going to happen. I don't think.
It's like Morgan Riley and the Morgan Riley, like underlings. That's what it's always been in Toronto.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia, it's Travis Sanheim when he feels like it, and then take your pick. Lots of some gypsum out there.
Yeah. At least Nick Sealer blocked the shots for you. He's got that going.
Nick Sealer's got like a really mean mug, That's what
he does. I will say he does. He scares the shit out of me. But
I'm not allowed to say anything bad about Nick Sealer because I crapped on that contract a couple years ago, and I still, understand that I was wrong about that.
And he's only a -1 on this team. This guy, only a -1. The audacity of him.
Just fun fact: Emil Andre still a +3. Played 20 games. 5 points, +3. Just saying.
No, I want to trust the judgment of like, well, the speed of the game, and we don't want to mess with his confidence. It's like I get that. I don't want to mess with his confidence either. But at the same time, it's like, dude, the difference between him on the team and him not on the team in the past 2 months is ridiculous. It's night and day difference.
I mean, Jamie Drysdale's a minus 16, guys. He's the worst plus minus on the team.
I know. We're trying. We got to make it work. We're hoping. I don't know.
When we come back, what did Cutter Gauthier have to say ahead of his matchup with the Philadelphia Flyers? Was he expecting roses to be thrown at him as he takes the ice? Or was he expecting maybe something else? You have to stay tuned and find out, because I'm sure you couldn't take a guess as to what he was thinking would be tomorrow's reception. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Fly Guys Podcast, first episode of 2025, and we thank you for deciding to spend an evening, a car ride, a morning with us. And Cameron, as we sit here on the eve of Cutter Gauthier's return to Philadelphia, listen, this is a big weekend in Philadelphia sports. You've got Cutter Gauthier coming back to Philadelphia, the place that he shunned away. And then you have the Green Bay Packers coming into Philadelphia to play the Eagles in the wild card round of the playoffs, because the 2 seed not having a bye makes a lot of sense. Thanks for ruining a great thing with your scheduling and playoff format, NFL. But I'm not mad about it. So Cutter Gauthier, you may have heard of him. You may be aware of what he's done.
Yeah.
He was asked about what he thinks will be ahead or will be awaiting him when he comes into Philadelphia tomorrow.
I just want to say that's a Nick Castellanos response there from me. That's a stupid question.
That is a very dumb question.
That's a stupid question, man.
Hey, the city that you pissed off and basically shut you don't want to play for, what do you think they're going to think of you when you come into their building tomorrow?
Yeah, the angriest sports city in the country, according to a lot of people, which I don't actually think is true, but seemingly the angriest sports city in the country, which hates you and has said that they hate you online and in public and in the streets. How do you think they're going to respond when you walk into their building?
And so Cutter, of more sound mind than the reporter that asked him, simply said, I'm anticipating probably a lot of boos for sure. They're probably not the happiest fans with me. Excited for tomorrow and just building our team game. Yeah, you don't care about that part. All right, he says like the normal thing to say.
Yeah,
and
the hockey player response. Yeah.
But he expands. Because with Cutter, it's never as simple as just being like, yep, we got to play better, we got to be better. Like, it's nothing like that. What he does go on to say is, I believe the media likes to take things and run with it, especially right after the trade. There was a lot of lies circling the internet, Gauthier said. It's unfortunate because I'm not going to go out there and badmouth the Flyers organization. Obviously, they're such a historic organization and a great organization, and I was fortunate enough to be drafted by them. Apparently not fortunate enough to play for them. I was super honored to be picked by them. Not honored enough, I guess. The media likes to take stuff and run with it. It was a bit unfortunate to see some of the lies they were spreading, but I wish them all the best moving forward. And then when asked if he would like to expand and explain what these lies were, since the fans apparently don't know the truth, and if we knew the truth, we would gravitate towards them. Do you want to expand, Cutter? No, he declined a further comment. So at that point, Cutter, whatever. Seriously, who cares that you think there were lies in the media? Maybe there were. But if you're not going to tell us what we got wrong, what the media got wrong, then quite frankly, what you just said, that entire paragraph, is completely undone by your inability or unwillingness to share the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is I said when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, the classic hockey response, which is just, we're focused on the team, pucks in deep, all the memes. His response, right, that's a lot for a hockey player, right? That's a dramatic response from a hockey player. Pointing out, being like, I just wish they knew the truth and there was lies. That's not usually, hockey players don't even give you that, right? So it's to me, that is that's the equivalent, again, of Nick Castellanos being like, that's a stupid question, and being kind of upfront about things. And it's just yeah, man, I'm sure there definitely is things that the public doesn't know. There's definitely things that the fans don't know, clearly. If you're not going to expand on it, why bring it up? Unless you want to just try to, again, paint the narrative of yourself differently so that you're perceived differently. And my thought is, again, why do you care? I don't understand why you care to be like, oh, I wish the fans knew. If I was a first-round overall pick that scored the most goals in international play last year and all this crap, I wouldn't give a shit. what the
what
Flyers
fans
fans
thought. Yeah,
think
what
of me.
fans thought. Yeah.
I don't care. They're losers and dumb, and they don't know the full story. I don't care. I'm going to go play. Like that's my mentality. But so my whole thing is like the rumor about him wanting to leave, right? The rumor was that he wanted to play in Philadelphia for the Flyers. I don't want to do AHL. I don't want to try out for the team. I want to just get it, right? And to me, you speaking to the media again and trying to be this whole thing of like, oh, there's more than other people know, like trying to change the perception about yourself, to me seems very much like a type of player who would be like, who's very egotistical, right?
Yes.
Who's very much like, I'm not going to try for a team. I'm good enough to just be on it. So it's like every interview I've seen of the kid, with the and again, it's early on. We've only seen half of his season so far. We watched Sidney Crosby transition, right, from a young little snot-nosed kid to a great player, a good leader, somebody we even respect.
Yes.
And so that could change with Cutter Gauthier going on in his career. But that being said, everything that we've seen so far kind of makes me feel there is more confirmation to those rumors that you're calling lies right now. And
like,
by not expanding on it, it's just like, yeah, that's making me think further that they're real.
What's the lie? Did you actually meet with Patrick Sharp and John LeClaire? Like, did that actually happen? And we just, Danny Briere and Keith Jones just lied about that? Like, that's never
the thing too. When we talked about this before the show, like I said to Justin, I was like, well, Keith Jones and Danny Briere are not the media; they're the Flyers. So it's like if you're saying the media lied, like, well, the media might have gotten things wrong 100%. And there was a lot of rumors and all kinds of crap. But that's not what most Flyer fans are upset about. They're not upset about what the media said. They're upset about what the president of hockey operations said when he looked into the camera and said he would not talk to us.
Not once.
Like, that's what we're upset about. And I don't think Keith Jones and Danny Briere have a reason to lie to the fans. I don't see why they would do that.
When Danny Briere and Keith Jones took over for Chuck Fletcher and the previous regime, the first thing they weren't thinking is, how are we going to ruin this kid's reputation and get him the hell out of Philadelphia? How do we do that? And more importantly, what Briere said at the time was, we tried to give him space. We tried to get in touch with him many times. They would not communicate. So you know what, Cutter? What's the lies? Did you communicate? Did you call Danny and say, you know what, I want to work this out. I want to be a Philadelphia Flyer, and I'll do everything that you ask of me? I don't think you did, because if you had done that, you'd be in Philadelphia right now. Maybe you'd be with the Phantoms to start out. Maybe the Flyers didn't think you were ready to immediately jump to the NHL roster. And the more and more you've played this season, the more I might understand why they feel that way. Because in 41 games, you've got 18 points. Yay. You're finally, you're getting a few more assists here and there. Cool. But at no point did you ever want to actually accept the role that the Flyers wanted to give you in this organization, unless it was given to you the way you want it, how you wanted it, when you wanted it. So spare me this, I wish they knew the truth. It's like you weren't Christ on the cross, I promise you.
Yeah, man. And again, like, I think what he's referring to are those rumors of him not wanting to play. And maybe there was some other reason why he didn't want to play, but it's just like, that is not why Flyer fans don't like you. They don't dislike you because you wanted to play for the Flyers and you didn't want to try out for the AHL team. That's a reason to dislike you. But seemingly from rumors, that's the same thing with Kolosov too. And then he came here, earned his keep to the point where Flyer fans are going, shit, maybe he was right. And
now
it's all good. And it's all good. Like, yeah, maybe he was right. So, like, yeah, it's, whatever. They're not upset with you. Like we said, they're not upset with you for that. We're upset with you because you
asked out.
You ghosted like a Tinder date, man. And you're a grown-ass man, like, who signed a contract. So,
like, this idea. Oh, I'll be repeating myself, but you know what, Kolosov?
We will.
Holding the Flyers hostage right now. And you know what? The Flyers fans wouldn't give a rat's ass if Kolosov was putting up all-star numbers. Problem is, Kolosov sucks. So now I'm kind of mad at him for holding us hostage as well. What the thing is about Gauthier is the fact that if he had just, I don't know, had any amount of humility, any amount of accepting a role, he would still be here, because no GM, no coach, no president, no owner sits there with a guy that's lighting it up in juniors, and all these fans are getting excited about what he's doing for Team USA, and thinks, get that kid the fuck out of my organization. No one is doing that.
You know who would put up with that kind of mentality? The mentality of a Cutter Gauthier?
No.
The same GM who would trade for a 30-plus-year-old Jacob Trouba while in a rebuild. That's who. People who don't care about mentality and character. That's who. So, whatever, dude.
Stay losing, Anaheim. And so the Flyers will see them tomorrow. And in terms of must-wins, it's a must-win in two different ways. It's a must-win because, you got to win this game. You got to end this losing streak. And it's a must-win because if you let that guy beat you in your building, you're the most unserious organization that the NHL has as of right now.
And it's even more of a must-win now because we just talked a bunch of shit.
I really need this team to back me up. Like, one time, guys. One time this season, I just need you to back me up on something. They have a back-to-back with the Florida Panthers and Columbus Blue Jackets. Lose both those games. I don't care. Beat the freaking Ducks. And speaking of the end of the month, the rest of January, pretty unforgiving, by the way. They got to play the Devils 3 times.
Yeah, dude.
The Islanders 3 times. The Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers, who all of a sudden have refound their groove. So you got to win this game because, this is probably not going to be another game that's going to be a winnable one for you outside of tomorrow.
Yeah, at least not until February.
Are you thinking that? Do you think the building will be filled up a little bit tomorrow? Do you expect the Flyers fans to show out so they can boo them?
No,
I don't either.
Anaheim sucks. Like, the Flyers aren't playing well, and they haven't played well, at all in the past. It's an Eagles playoff game the next day. People are going to be in bed just resting for the perpetual, never-ending tailgate the next day. No, I don't think people are. I think it's going to be a normal Saturday hockey game. What would make it worse if it was at 2 p.m. So 7 p.m. helps them out a little bit, but
NFL playoffs are going on that night. By that point, I think Steelers and Ravens will be going on. I know.
Just how about the Steelers, man? Just classic.
Bad.
Just
man.
Classic Mike Tomlin. And I love the guy, but I gave the guy a lot of praise before, and I had a Steelers fan correct me, and that Steelers fan told me exactly how the rest of the season was going to go, and damn if he wasn't wrong. Damn if he wasn't wrong. Shout out to cousin Rob because you nailed it, dude. But Rob Stein, great dude, but he nailed it, and yeah.
Yeah, at 10-3, they marched into the Link to play the Eagles, got their bells rung by the Eagles, and never recovered. They got crushed by the Ravens.
It's so funny because that was the game he said. He was like, they're going to get exposed by the Eagles, and the Ravens are going to crank them, and they're never going to come back from it. And
what was cool was that I was at that Ravens-Steelers game, and I watched the team just kind of stop being a football team that night because the Ravens, they looked like, that sideline was going crazy the whole night. Steelers, a lot of standing around, a lot of 1,000-yard steers, a lot of looks that I saw the 2023 Eagles giving towards the end of the season where I was like, okay, get the hell out of here if you're not going to be a helpful part of this. Now you got me on football, so let's talk about football.
We got 10, 15 minutes left. Figured, might as well.
Yeah, why not? Eagles, Packers tomorrow, or Sunday rather, at Sunday at 4:30, which I'm happy about because I didn't want it to be the night game because I just didn't. The playoffs are truly a crapshoot, and any team can go in. A 7-seeded Packers team can beat up on the 2-seeded Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It can happen. The Eagles are the better team, and they're the better team because they have the better players. Coaching is a bit of a toss-up. Maybe you prefer Matt LaFleur and his staff over Nick Sirianni and his staff. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But the Eagles are the better team, and they've been better all year than, 29 other teams in football.
Yeah.
The Packers are 0-5 against the Lions, Vikings, and Eagles combined. So,
coming off of a loss at home against the Bears.
They were trying to win because they didn't want to go to Philadelphia.
Yeah, they weren't resting their starters. Yeah.
And so, ultimately, and they lose Christian Watson, who was their, that's their stretch guy down the field. He was averaging 21 yards a catch this season.
That's all he catches is deep. That's it.
Yeah. So now it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more intermediate routes and all that stuff. It's going to be Jordan Love trying to keep a play alive and see if Romeo Doubs can get himself open, which he's been good at. Romeo Doubs is certainly no slouch. This Packers team's no slouch. Josh Jacobs, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and they don't have Jair Alexander. I understand that.
Yeah.
And that sucks for them. It's in Philadelphia. The Eagles gave themselves a bye week by not playing really any of their starters. Jalen Hurts is through concussion protocol. Just win the game the way you've been winning all season. Strong defense, and let Saquon Barkley take you the rest of the way.
Yeah, I think you lose this game if you go into it lightly, which I don't expect them to do. If it gets out of hand quickly, like if the game gets if the Packers go up by 2 scores before the Eagles put anything on the board, which again I don't think is likely. I think those are the things that make you in trouble. Like they can get out of hand with what the Packers have, but I just I wouldn't put money on the Packers. I'm not putting money on the Eagles, but I wouldn't put money on the Packers. There's no way.
Xavier McKinney, obviously, tremendous player this year for the Packers. Another miss by the New York Giants to not re-sign that guy.
Added to the list. And John Mayer's staying. Or whoever their GM.
Joe Sheen.
Thank you. Yeah, Mayer's the owner. Yeah, Sheen's staying. Yeah, which is I'd kill to have that job security anywhere.
So he's staying, and then Barkley's an All-Pro, Xavier McKinney's an All-Pro. You've got all these All-Pros that left the Giants. And listen, this Packers defense is not bad. They have good players. They're missing their best cornerback, which is going to be problematic. And if the Eagles are going to win this game the way they've been winning all season, how are they going to do it? They're going to do it in the trenches where they just wear you down and they start to eat up that clock. If the Eagles are up 10 points and they just start eating up the clock, teams are going to begin to panic. Only one team this entire year has overcome the strength of the Eagles' offensive and defensive line, and that was the Washington Commanders. After, of course, they knocked Jalen Hurts out of the game, so it's a massive asterisk, and that game was their Super Bowl, so who cares? But, other than that, the only other team that handled the Eagles were the Buccaneers, and that Eagles team didn't have Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and also was a very different team. And the Eagles team that beat the Packers in Week 1 was a very different team from what it is today.
Yeah.
I believe I will never not believe in my team. Once you're in the playoffs, I hate the people that once you're in the playoffs, it's like, oh, we're dead men walking. You're in the playoffs. You might as well just believe in your team because the trolls and the haters are going to say whatever they want. So you might as well just go full.
Yeah, and you're there, dude. You made it to the dance. You might as well go in there swinging. And again, the 8-8 New York Giants winning the Super Bowl, the 7-9 Seahawks. We brought it up beforehand before the show started. The 7-9 Seahawks beating the Saints. You know what I mean? In the wild card, like you started this whole segment out, the playoffs are a crapshoot. They are any given Sunday. That's where that saying comes from. Is for the NFL playoffs because anything can happen. The 1985 Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino losing to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. These things happen.
A game that had the 1985 Bears celebrating in the locker room because they did not want to have to face off against that Dolphins team.
Yeah, Dolphins team that put up 30+ on them. Yeah, greatest defense of all time. All right. No, it was. It probably it will. It's kind of hard to debate that, but it's up there. It's up there.
Me, the greatest defense of all time are the 2013 Seahawks because what they did in an era where you can't touch anyone makes them the best. 2000 Ravens.
They were the ones that popped in my head with the 2000 Ravens.
2013 Seahawks, 2000 Ravens, 85 Bears, 91 Eagles. Oh, I'm sorry. 91 Eagles, 86 Giants. Underrated defense. That 86 Giants team, extremely good.
Late 80s, early 90s Giants teams were ridiculously good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So, Dolphin season ends. Tough loss, obviously, against the New York Jets.
Dude.
Cameron texted me and said Mike McDaniel would make a really good offensive coordinator. And honestly, you don't even need to ask, what do you mean by it? That's a text you see and you go, I know exactly what he's talking about.
I love the guy. I love the guy. But there were challenges that he made that he doesn't need to make that are just clearly not going to go your way. It's those things, right? Like you go back to, I forget what year it was, but when the Titans beat the Patriots in the wild card game, knocks them out of the playoffs. It's the end of Tom Brady's tenure in New England.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the year before that. I'm blanking. But Mike Vrabel does a thing where he gets I think it was either the false start or the delay of game penalty, and therefore the clock did not stop, and so they maintain possession and they keep the Patriots on the sideline. Like, those are the kind of things where it's like those little things. Those are the X factors that make a great head coach. McDaniel has just proven to me time and time again he just does not have that, and I love the guy, but I can't. Going into that game, I knew it was they weren't going to beat them, and it's the Jets. It's the 2024 Madden rating Jets, for Christ's sake. They just had the most explosive athletic article come out about them 2 weeks prior. You go in there and you lose, and all the narratives, right? Can't play in cold weather. We're not beating that, right? Haven't beat that. Can't beat a team above 500. Still not beating that. Soft. Tell me where the lie is. Tyreek Hill walking off the field and doing a classic Tyreek Hill move. It's those things where it's the team is completely lost control, and I don't know what you do to fix it. Apparently, it's not firing Mike McDaniel, because that's not going to happen. I'm not even saying I necessarily want that to happen. It's just I don't see any other way, any other direction to go.
You said soft, and the first thing I thought of was Tyreek Hill being asked a question about being one of the team captains and what's your message to the team, and him taking that question and using it to segue into, I got to get out of here. That was the softest, most pathetic answer I've ever seen out of any team captain, no less just a football player in general.
I don't even know if I don't care. Here's the thing about Tyreek Hill. I don't expect anything other than that from him. I don't. I'm sorry. And my blood pressure is up there right now talking about Tyreek Hill, because I met the guy and I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Didn't like how he talked to the fans. Didn't how he talked to people. Every time we see anything privately about this guy, it's not a good thing. The guy's not a good guy. I've seen him on the field give up more times than any other Dolphins player, which is saying something. That's one of the best receivers, a bona fide Hall of Fame receiver in the NFL, and I've seen him give up more than anybody this season. And it disgusts me, because it's just like, I know how much you get paid. I know how much shit you've talked the past 2 seasons about this team. Yet clearly no major change has been done. So all you've been doing is talking and not putting any of that actual work in terms of leadership to get the guys to buy in or do whatever, because you're out. You're out, right, Tyreek? Just like Aaron Rodgers, same kind of shit. Well, that's not my problem. That's their problem. Well, Mike Williams ran the wrong route. It's the reason why he's got 1 ring, and it was because of his defense, not because of him. And it's the same reason why when Tyreek Hill got traded to the Miami Dolphins, a bunch of guys in the warehouse that I was in were all like, aren't you excited? And I said no, because Randy Moss, Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, 0 rings.
None. Again, you're right about Tyreek
the guy
Hill,
who has more baby mamas come out this year than touchdowns is not taking responsibility. That's crazy. Who would have thought?
Listen, the bright spots on this Dolphins team, I mean, like Jonnu Smith, pretty good. I like Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle was a bit of a disappointment this year, and you could say the inconsistency at who was playing quarterback, and obviously
he also had injuries throughout the season too that he was playing through, and but still, no, he disappointed. He disappointed.
But it is crazy to me that the story of this Dolphins season, which I thought was going to be written in an epitaph about how Tua's injuries are just costing this team a chance to compete, now that's being rewritten into Tyreek Hill is just going to bail on this franchise. And honestly, for a guy, he was remember people, he was ranked the number 1 player in the NFL in the top 100 last year. And I remember thinking
800 less yards than last season. 800-yard regression.
100-yard regression.
1,700 to 900 to less than 900.
AJ Brown missed 3 games, still eclipsed 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Jerry Jeudy, man. Jerry Jeudy with Deshaun Watson, right? Jameis Winston and was Donovan Smith Johnson? I can't remember.
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Is that him?
Out in Cleveland?
Isn't it? I think it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Oh, you're talking the quarterback, Dorian Thompson. That's right. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
No, because I always mix up Donovan Peoples-Jones because it's a 3-name thing. But no, point is Jerry Jeudy has over 1,000 yards with that. Coming off of a season where Steve Smith called him soft on national television.
It's a mentality thing. So that's Miami.
Yeah,
Good.
that's Miami. Yeah.
We'll have to pick this up because I just want to kind of round up some other news in the NFL.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson ruptured his Achilles again.
Yeah.
And now his 2025 season is in serious doubt.
He's done. You're not coming back from 2 of them.
No, I honestly think his career is probably over. Even if he plays another down of football, this special quarterback from like 2018 to 2020, you're never getting that guy again. Like,
no,
he is never, ever going to be that guy ever again.
Mm-mm.
And some will call it karma. Some will say you're a jerk for pointing that out. And to what I would say is, oh, well, sucks for him. I'm sure it sucks. I'm sure he's not happy about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it hurts.
But I will say, yeah, I mean, it really is as simple as that.
Yeah.
And then, as of course, the other big news in football that I don't know if Cameron's aware about is the potential rule change going into next year. So the NFL has basically admitted, hey, yeah, this onside kick thing, it's not really that good. So the NFL might eventually adopt the 4th and 21 play thing where, you can elect for that. And if you get it, you get to keep the ball. And all I have to say to that, Cameron, is they are just destroying the game that I love. Bit by bit, piece by piece. 17-game regular season, 17 playoff format. Oh, but the Eagles wouldn't have made it in 2021. Don't care. They weren't good enough to win the Super Bowl. So why would I care that they made it to the playoffs? The whole making people stand still on a kickoff instead of just getting a running head start. What do you want to do? Do you want to have people return kicks or not? Okay, I have a great idea. Splendid idea. You make the touchback the 20-yard line, and you kick the ball off from the 25-yard line. I guarantee you will have returns in the NFL again.
It's a better idea than whatever it is that we're doing at this point. I don't.
Enough's enough with it. Like, they are just destroying the kickoff. They're destroying special teams as a whole. But like,
I just loved, like, back in the day when that dramatic moment happened and a team scores with 30 seconds left, but they still have 2 points to go and they get the onside kick. It's one of the most exciting moments. And it has the same level of anticipation as the game-winning kick happening. When that kickoff happens, it's like, this is it. Here we go. Like,
and also, there's another aspect to this. If you're in a position where you needed like an onside kick, you probably didn't deserve to win the game to begin with, but bailing a team out, being like, oh, well, I have an idea. Let's give Patrick Mahomes a 4th and 20 and see if he can make something happen, and then the Chiefs can steal a game against the Bills or whatever. It's so bad. It's just so bad.
And that breeds to me, like, not to put on my tinfoil hat, but the 4th and 21 thing too breeds to me. It's just like, okay, so let me get this right. They're going to be throwing the ball downfield where you're most likely going to just call a pass interference penalty. Got it. If I'm a head coach, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, throw it downfield. Throw it downfield, and I'm telling my receiver, get as physical as possible as you can on the line and get him to grab you.
If it's a pass interference call, I would think that means a retry, and that it's not like an automatic you keep the ball. You can't have a change of possession on a penalty like that.
Right.
So I would think that it would have to be a retry. And I got to tell you right now, I'm telling my defense backs, hold on every play and dare the defensive call. Seriously, why do you think why do you think the Eagles defense was so good this year and the Cowboys defense was so good the last 3 years with Dan Quinn? Because the whole thing, hold on every play and dare the refs to call it every time. They won't. They won't. That's how you win as a defense in football. Commit penalties every play and say to the refs, you're not going to call it every single time. Because they won't. Because the refs are inconsistently bad.
I mean, that's a good point. That's a great strategy. And yeah, but that like you're saying though, it leads to a whole bunch of other questions. Like, is that a penalty? Do we give him 15 yards and now it's 4th and 6? Well, that doesn't really seem right. Like, or you could just have a goddamn onside kick. And it's fine.
And enough with the whole, you have to declare that you're kicking on. No, what about a surprise onside kick?
They were the most fun.
Like the Eagles' early run of the 2000s started on a surprise onside kick at Texas Stadium, and John Madden they were coming out funny. I thought it was kind of weird. That's cool. That is cool about football.
Dude, starting the second half with an onside kick. Oh my God!
Like seriously, what a great job by Sean Payton and at one point Bill Cowher in the 95 Super Bowl against Dallas. Like, seriously, you take that away, you take away kind of the mystique of the game. Here's another one. Fans always want to change this one. It's my favorite thing. If you are the offensive team and you're going in for a touchdown and you fumble the ball and it goes out of the back of the end zone for a touchback, you should get the ball where you fumble. You should get the ball back where you fumbled the
Where
ball.
you lost possession.
Yeah, no. How about not? How about just not at all doing that? Because honestly, why should you be rewarded for fumbling it out of the end zone by getting it at the 2-yard line? The only change to that rule I would have ever accepted is you fumbled out of the back of the end zone. Cool. So it goes back to the original line of scrimmage from where you had it, and it's an automatic loss of down. So tough.
I'd be cool with that. I'd settle that compromise. Yeah.
That is the only way I would ever be willing to change that rule.
But I think the reason why people hate that rule is because the first time it was seen again for the longest time was New England. It benefited New England, and they were the evil empire at the time, so everyone was just like, F that rule.
Which game was that?
They were playing against the Jets. I could be misremembering it, but I remember it happening and them fumbling it out of the end zone, and the Jets fumbling it out of the end zone, and went and got a touchback, and New England got the ball, and everyone was pissed off because they were like, of course. But
the game that I remember it happening, at least when I was younger, was I think it was the Lions and the Seahawks, and then I want to say it was Bobby Wagner. He batted the ball out of the back of the end zone to enforce that. It was going to be a touchback. Now that was a penalty. Like, he should not have been allowed to, like, they missed that call. Right. But that was the first time I started hearing people being like, that's not even a good rule. Like, you should just go back to the spot of the fumble. It's like, you know what? These offenses get every break imaginable in today's NFL. So you know what? I'm okay with honestly punishing an offense for being dumb enough to fumble the ball by the goal line. In the same way that I'm a fan of executing Drew Aller after throwing a goddamn interception in your own part of the field in the Orange Bowl less than a minute to go.
Yeah, man. I can't believe Notre Dame did it, man.
You know why? You know why
shit.
they did it? You know why they did it? Because if there was one team they were going to do it against, it was going to be the Penn State Nittany Lions. That's how they were going to do it.
I couldn't help but think of you the whole time. The amount of times, because I don't watch much college football, and the amount of times you were just like, Notre Dame, like you would.
I know. I had to eat my words big time. And I felt bad for Seth. Like, he's such a big. I didn't text him, obviously, the rest of the night. I texted him this, like, hey, man, did you, want to get together? And he goes, him and his fiance are seeing, a caterer and everything.
Oh, congratulations to Seth. Nice.
Yeah, he's getting married. And honest to God, all I could think to myself was, he's not going to say it, so I'll say it for him. Drew Aller is such an unclutched performer and such a such a small man mentality when the moment gets too big. There are two things you get taught in football at an early age. One, that the team with the star is evil and deserves to die.
Yes.
And two, protect the football in the guts of the game. And he's like, I got a free pass rusher in my face. I haven't completed a ball to a receiver all night. Let me throw 4 feet wide of him and see what happens.
Let's let it fly. Let's let it fly.
And I see him. He's got his hands on his helmet. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, what have I done? I'll tell you what you did. You just had your signature legacy defining moment at Penn State, because you are never getting back to that spot again.
It's tough, dude. It's tough.
And anyway,
Rudy. Sorry.
I was actually looking into that whole Rudy thing. The jersey scene never happened. Total fake. Totally fake.
Yeah. There's wasn't he offsides too or something like that?
The joke's he was obviously offsides, but the other thing, of course, is that Joe Montana confirmed this because he was a teammate at the time. When they carried him off the field, that was done as a complete joke. Everyone hated Rudy. He was a complete asswipe on the team. So when they carried him off the field, they were doing it as they were just mocking him as they carried him off the field.
That's upsetting. I don't like that. That's upsetting.
It is upsetting. It's an inspirational movie. If you've watched Rudy, then you're probably a Notre Dame fan.
It is a great movie, I will say. Sean Astin, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Grant and when Grant and I were at the Eagles game, I turned to him. I was like, "So, what is your best or your favorite / the best sports movie of all time?" And
I would love to know his answer.
He was torn between Remember the Titans and what was the other one? Oh my gosh! Start listing off great sports movies, because as soon as you say it, I'm going to know what he said.
Rocky popped in my mind.
Oh my gosh! It was. Oh my god! He's going to
Dude, I
kill
don't know.
me.
Was it what? Do you remember what sport? What Miracle? Do you remember what sport it was?
It wasn't Miracle on Ice. I know that. I think it might have been basketball. Was it basketball?
Oh, Coach Carter, maybe. No.
That and I'm editing this.
I'm trying to.
Greatest sports.
Hoosiers. Hoosiers is a good one too.
Oh, Moneyball. Moneyball. It was
Moneyball. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for him, it was torn between Remember the Titans and Moneyball, which unfortunately those are two of my favorites. So I kind of was like, oh, I agree with you. And Grant's like, yeah, of course you agree with me, like because you don't have the real opinions, Justin. For me, it'll always be Remember the Titans. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best. I don't know because like it depends on how you count. If you count like fighting movies or boxing movies as well, like that kind of, I feel like they have their own thing. But
yeah, I mean, Rocky, as you mentioned before, Raging Bull, which is like to be fair, Raging Bull is not really a sports movie. That's what
I'm saying. Like Raging, to me, like in terms of like all of those movies, if I compare Raging Bull to Remember the Titans, I'm going to say Raging Bull is the better movie. But again, I wouldn't consider that like I didn't watch that thinking like this is a sports movie. I'm watching this for the boxing. Like you're watching a guy's life fall apart.
Yeah,
and
no
why?
one watches it for the sports aspect in Raging Bull.
But they got. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. There is a lot of good ones.
Let's see. Just off the top of my head, there's Major League. There's Slapshot. There is White Man Can't Jump. There's Space Jam.
All time great.
There's the Blind Side. There's Miracle, obviously.
I love that that's on the list too. And
well,
it's like,
the thing about the Blind Side is that we've now come to realize that it is nothing what we hoped for, and it turned out to be like a really not great story. But
the whole adoption scene,
didn't happen.
Weren't adopting him. They weren't adopting him in that scene. They were claiming his rights. That's basically to sell the movie. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's such a bad.
But dude, like Foxcatcher is a great movie. King Richard, like Will Smith, even though that was the Oscar movie that he did the whole thing, but that he crushed that movie. He crushed Ali too.
Yeah, that was the unfortunate part. He wins the award that night, and he has to come back on stage, and then he's crying on stage. But the only thing people will remember is him assaulting Chris Rock. That's the only thing.
I remember, that was the first year I did my thing where I watch all the movies and I try to make my own thing. And I remember that was the part of me that was the most upset about the whole thing was just like, dude, now no one's gonna remember your performance, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and now no one's gonna talk about it. You moron! But yeah, sorry. Moving on.
But to close out this episode, thank you, because we've been going now, an hour 10? That's cool. Thank you so much for listening to another rousing edition of the Fly Guys podcast. As always, we are available to talk to on Instagram, on X. I'm at Goodheart Justin. He is at Cameron Klein 15. And make sure you bring out the boo birds for Cutter Gauthier. Make sure you're flapping your arms for the Eagles on Sunday. And as always, be happy, be healthy. The Fly Guys podcast is presented by Bet Online. Let's go